Territorial Cup time, and it's the biggest clash in a long time for who reigns supreme in the state of Arizona. Find out who wins next on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the number one sports podcast network around. I'm your host, Leif Thulin, your resident college basketball guru, stats nerd, point guard by game, and ball knower by trade. And I'm excited to talk Arizona football with you today. Today on the show, I'm going to preview the biggest Territorial Cup installment in quite some time, analyze where the game will be won, and of course, end it with my prediction of who will win and why. So let's dive right in. Arizona State, 99th Territorial Cup, and there are big-time ramifications to this game aside from being the big rivalry. You know, that's always a reason to win this game. It always matters when you win this game. Arizona is ranked 25th in the college football poll, earning the last spot and the first time they've been ranked in this matchup, with both teams ranked in quite a while. Arizona State at 20. The last time both were ranked in the college football playoff rankings, which are different from the AP rankings, it was 2014, the inaugural year of the college football playoff. It's over a decade ago, and therefore the most significant clash between these two teams since then. The Territorial Cup game then was played on November 28th, so same day of the year, strangely enough, 2014 in Tucson. And number 11 Arizona, the Wildcats defeated the Sun Devils, who were ranked number 13, the final score of 42-35. The Wildcats were ranked 11th and had a record of 9-2. The Sun Devils 9-2 as well, ranked number 13. And they faced each other in that Territorial Cup game shortly after the rankings were released on November 28th, 2014. And the winner clinched the Pac-12 South Division title, which meant that they can play in the Pac-12 championship with the winner advancing to the Rose Bowl at that point. Pretty awesome stuff. There is no Rose Bowl imminent in this one. The outcome of this one, though, does matter. Arizona's victory in that game secured their spot in the Pac-12 championship. It led Arizona to a trip in the Fiesta Bowl, and Arizona State finished their season successfully with 10-3 after winning the Sun Bowl against Duke. The outcome of this game does not quite necessarily mean that they go to such and such bowl or a Pac-12, or excuse me, in this case, a Big 12 championship. It doesn't quite hold the same imminent stakes, but it is big to have both ranked, and a winner has a chance to be ranked higher, but also have double-digit win season after you wouldn't really think when the Big 12 was made that these two teams were going to be the powers. Well, Arizona State could be in the championship back-to-back years. Arizona can turn their program around from 4-8 in the first year in the Big 12 to 10 wins, potentially, should they win this one and the bowl game in season 2 under a new coach after losing a ton of talent and losing a guy who turned around their program in Jed Fish and then bolted for Washington. The outcome of this game is big, despite not having an imminent location to where the winner heads. Arizona State's 8-3, 6-2 in conference play, and they remain in the chase for a Big 12 championship berth heading into this game, the last weekend of the regular season. But the Sun Devils would have to beat Arizona and get help from other teams, specifically BYU losing to UCF. They'd also need Utah to lose, or maybe they'd need a couple things regarding Utah and Texas Tech after that. But they definitely would need BYU to lose to UCF. Don't see that happening, but also they got a lot of work to do with the Arizona Wildcats, the hottest team in the Big 12. During his press conferences on Monday, head coach Dillingham reflected on what this game means for the state of Arizona as a rivalry between two winning teams, and how it matters rather than just, beating the rivalry with teams playing for the contention of making a Big 12 championship, but also trying to say they're the best team in Arizona with both teams having equal claims for it. This is a game that matters, Dillingham said. You know that your neighbor could have gone to either school. That's what makes this rivalry fun, and that's what makes things great. He says, that's what makes this rivalry fun, is that people are friends with people who've gone onto both sides of this rivalry, and that's what makes it so big, is the relationships within the rivalry. He understands the appeal to each and every person, how important it is to you. And what I read from that statement is Arizona can not only beat their rival, but play spoiler in what Arizona State and what they believe they have built. Arizona State could say, if they win this and then win the next week, they could say, you know what, we're the best team in the Big 12. We're the best program in the Big 12. And Arizona can play spoiler to that and lay claim to the best team in the state and also ride it for momentum going forward in the Big 12. What I read from this game is that Arizona is favored to win this game. FanDuel line says Arizona by 1.5 favored on the road, despite Arizona State being good, having true aspirations to win. There's no reason for them to lose this game. There's no cultural shock, and they've given up on their team. It's not a spiraling team. So my read is that something has to be favoring Arizona, and I think there's 2 reasons why. First thing first, Arizona is on fire. They've won 4 straight and is as hot as anyone in the country, give or take a few, but as hot as anyone in the Big 12 easily. And that is big. So let's go further on this. I think these 2 programs are on the rise within the Big 12 for years to come, not just playing well now, but also setting up each program for imminent success, but also imminent long-term success, because brands matter more than ever in college basketball and football. College football and college basketball, you can ride a successful season into the next season, and football even more so, because you can hold players that stay. Players can stay and coaches stay. Brett Brennan turned a 4-8 team over to 8-3 with a chance at winning 2 more games and got through that liminal period of make or break time, and the team is rolling now. And he has the buzz, the belief and backing of the boosters and national recognition after Arizona that had a few years ago the same belief that all of a sudden Arizona beat Utah 42-18 a couple years ago, and we're a plucky underdog team. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, this team's rolling. That Jedd Fisch guy's got it going. Jedd Fisch bolts, he goes to Washington, and then you need to find the answer. Brett Brennan has turned that back around and has the same support and belief right now, especially after getting through that tumultuous period, having gone 4-3 to start the year, but 1-3 to start in Big 12 play. And that's the difference. And then as for Kenny Dillingham, he's one of the hottest names in the coaching, point blank and period. And as a result of him being great there and super well regarded for years prior to going to Arizona State, the Sun Devils have now performed and backed his initial belief around him. Everyone said, oh, he's going to be really good. He's going to take a bigger job. Well, the Sun Devils have backed that and performed admirably. They performed admirably in the playoffs, losing a heartbreaker to Texas, and have a chance to be in the playoffs once more. It's an outside chance, but they have a chance. To have Brennan getting coaching buzz is nothing but a good thing. Even though you don't want him poached away, going to UCLA, there's that buzz. It means that the success of your program is through the roof, and both coaches are leaving their teams. In this case, they would be leaving to go to a place with more prominent NIL. And that means that your team is doing well enough to get recognized. However, Arizona and Arizona State can easily retain their coach because they're leading programs and want to continue to do so and be the flagship of the Big 12. That's up for claim. And both these teams are striding in the right direction for it. And the NIL-driven world, that this game, and especially when you can recruit the state of Arizona, this game means a lot. Not just for bragging rights, but in terms of who is the program to beat in the Big 12. Because the Big 12 could use an ascension of one of the Arizona teams. And today means a lot for who claims it. The other narrative that makes this game particularly exciting, perhaps favors the Wildcats, is health concerns for both. And Sam Leavitt, the quarterback that most people thought of as the best coming into the season in the Big 12, is out. Sims, the backup quarterback, is inconsistent, to put it lightly. He's rushed well, throws for 772 yards while completing 67 of 125. That's only 54% completion percentage with 7 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Sims has had 31 interceptions in his many years as a quarterback in collegiate football with Georgia Tech, Nebraska, and ASU. Jordan Tyson, probable. There's a lot of moving factors for ASU. Arizona's missing some players too. And the other factor is, of course, Noah Fifita. Dillingham mentioned Arizona quarterback Noah Fifita is playing as well as any quarterback in the country. And during the Wildcats winning streak right now, Fifita has played efficiently, throwing touchdown passes, 8 of them, and only 1 interception. 8-1 in the winning streak of 4 games. And he's 64 of 106, good for 61%. For 848 yards, which he can sling the rock for more, but the balance has been what stood out. So that, to me, is the key. the quarterback situation, but whose balance is going to be more proficient and which team can take away the other's strength better. We'll discuss that. We'll decide who has the inherent advantage based on game scripts and which quarterback can you trust more with their given strengths and which team can overcome their respective injuries better. We'll discuss that and much, much more in Keys to the Game coming up next on Locked On Wildcats. The holidays always feel a little easier when you already know the perfect gift. And Omaha Steaks makes it almost too simple. Whether you're treating yourself this season or sending something or someone memorable you're sending it to someone, and they'll remember it forever. To family and friends, whoever it may be, Omaha Steaks delivers handcrafted perfection right to their door. And this week is the best time to jump in because their cyber sale is here, and the deals are huge. The quality is exactly what you hope for. Incredibly tender steaks, rich flavor, and meals that make hosting or weeknight cooking easier. And the variety is underrated. The steaks are fantastic. That's what you're known for, but there are certainly burgers, comfort meals, sides, and desserts too. It's one of those gifts that fits truly every single person. And you can save big on unforgettable gifts with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide and an extra 20% off your select favorites during the cyber sale. And for an additional $35 off, use promo code COLLEGE, and that's just college in all caps at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code COLLEGE. Terms apply, and see site for details. Thank you guys for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network around. Leif Thulin with you here, analyzing the Territorial Cup, the 99th installment, and one of the biggest ones yet. Quarterback play is always a good place to start, and always plays a big part in who wins big matchups. It's a key that deserves a lot of the focus, and we'll start there as we dive into the keys and the storylines to watch for this clash. Let's start with ASU because their quarterback play is more iffy. Sims has rushed for 423 yards on 83 carries with 2 touchdowns, and he's thrown for, as I mentioned in the prior segment, 772 yards while completing 67 of 125 attempts. Not particularly efficient there, but he does have 7 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. Sims, as I mentioned, known for his proclivity to turn the ball over. He's one of the leading quarterbacks still playing college football in terms of turnovers accumulated in his 6 years playing collegiate football. There is one part that is, oh, wow, that's an alarming stat. But there's also a part that he has played 6 years of collegiate football and therefore has more time to accumulate those numbers. He's got 31 interceptions in his years with Georgia Tech, Nebraska, and now ASU. And Sims, however, has led 3 straight wins for Arizona State. And though he's turnover prone, he's more than capable. And he's more than capable in a way that is difficult to contain. The Wildcats have particularly struggled against dual threat quarterbacks, right? Houston's Connor Wakeman and BYU's Bear Bachmeier ran for a combined 189 yards and 3 touchdowns from the QB spot. Couple that with Arizona's got a problem stopping the run in some of those losses. It's not just the quarterbacks. They lost to they lost to BYU and Houston, and they weren't able to get off the field on crucial downs, stopping the run. And both those teams said, you know what, we're just going to run a ton. Both ran over 40 times in those games. Despite Arizona's impressive turnaround defensively, it's since winning these 4 straight games, Arizona's still not been particularly stout against the run. They've had some trouble stopping the run. They've allowed 150 rushing yards per game, 8th in the Big 12. And that is fine. That's middle of the pack. But it doesn't inspire a ton of hope against a team that is so prone to running the ball down teams' throats, both from the quarterback and the running back position. Sims is a run-first quarterback. That's what he is. He's still capable of throwing. He's capable of making big plays, but the first thing you got to take away is running. Sims is a run-first quarterback who's rushed a lot. I mentioned the statistics. One of those games, he was particularly adept. He ran for 228 yards against Iowa State earlier this season. And running back Raleek Brown also ran for an enormous sum of yards against Colorado this past weekend. Like, this is a team that can be explosive. And in these type of games, those explosive runs count for even more because it's hard to score against your rivals. And if it becomes a shootout, it makes it difficult to project perfection from a guy that you would need it from in Noah Fifita, whereas this team can score based off the run from 2 different players. We'll talk about the run game soon, both from the Arizona perspective and stopping the ASU run game. But let's talk about the key of quarterback play. And it'll basically be, to me, I know I talked about quarterbacks and what it looks like. Fifita's the better quarterback. I think Fifita's the best quarterback in the Big 12, and we'll touch on that in a moment. But you got to make Sims play the quarterback position and show that he's above all those errors, all those interceptions he's thrown. You got to make Arizona State play from behind the sticks and be in obvious passing down situations. And then Arizona's turnover creation, which has played a huge role in this win streak, will shine because Sims is prone to making mistakes, but you got to make him throw the ball and make those decisions by making the offensive coordinators and decision makers on ASU think, okay, we got to throw to stay in this game, as opposed to establish the run and do that early and often. That's the first key, really. The more on that in the moment and how Arizona can actually achieve that. Sims, of course, will be countered by who I believe is the best quarterback in the Big 12. That's Noah Fifita. You guys know him well. The last time the Wildcats came to Tempe, Noah Fifita led the team, cruising to a 59-23 victory, and Fifita was electric, throwing for 500-plus yards, 5 touchdowns. And last season, Arizona was throttled by the Sun Devils, and the Sun Devils marched down to Tucson and won 49-7 en route to a Big 12 title. So there are two sides to the coin here. Fifita has dominated, and last time it was Cam Scatabo who dominated. So big-time players have shown out in these performances. I expect a very closely contested one in this one. Fifita, I don't know if you can expect 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, but he does need to be prolific in this game for Arizona to warrant being favored. And I do expect him to be great because I think he's the best quarterback in that conference. However, one thing I think to note that is very important and has not been talked about to my knowledge enough is Fifita will be pressured by ASU, who's capable on defense, but streaky more so than stout. But what they are good at is getting after the quarterback. They've registered 31 sacks this season, and that's the second most in the Big 12. And that is scary because Fifita has to be the better quarterback in this game because I believe ASU's got the better run game and Arizona's got a better throwing game. And Arizona has the better passing game defense, and Arizona State's got the better running defense. So, and the way I do the calculus there is that Fifita has to be really good to counteract what the weaknesses for Arizona are. The issue for him is he is missing offensive tackles, and he's missing key offensive linemen, which are supposed to keep him upright. So what I think has to happen is Arizona's offense has to be consistent and then good enough to put together long drives that are complementary with the run and the pass and score 6 and not 3 when they're in the red zone. And Fifita, the passing yards kind of need to be similar to what he's done throughout, probably similar to what Sims puts up passing plus rushing because Fifita is going to be asked to do a lot. And unless Arizona starts up early and Sims is asked to, and frankly, tasked with having to throw the way back into the game for the Sun Devils, I think Arizona wins in that situation. But otherwise, I think ASU is going to run the ball pretty well. They're going to score points. They're going to be able to throw the ball decently. And it's all about turnovers for Sims. So that means Fifita will have to put up big-time passing yards, maybe more so than he's done during this win streak, which has been a very balanced attack. I think he's going to need to really star in this one. This plays hand-in-hand with the previous quarterback analysis I was giving, and it's also been alluded to. But Arizona must stop the run to win this game. Sims, who's a dangerous runner, but also Raleek Brown. Sims ran for 228 against ISU. Raleek Brown north of 200 against Colorado. And last season, ASU had Cam Scatabo, who's great. He was a huge name. He was an NFL big-time story before getting injured, and he gashed the Wildcats for 177 and 3 touchdowns. He's gone, but Arizona's front seven is much better. The weakness for Arizona's defense, though, is stopping the run. They're very good at playing man-to-man defense. They have good corners, and it'll be interesting to see how they guard Tyson, the best receiver for ASU, and one of the best in the Big 12. But the Wildcats have given up 150 yards per game on the ground, and Brown has 40 plays this season of 10 yards or more on the ground. That's the most of anyone in the Big 12. Arizona must take away the big play. And those type of plays in what should be a tightly contested game are game breakers. Arizona in their losses has been exposed by the volume of how much teams have ran. They know to run the rock, expose Arizona, and have worn them down. BYU won in the overtime, and they were not stopped on 3rd and short, 4th and short, and they punched it in via the ground game. Houston ran 42 times for over 200 against Arizona. The game script is going to be ASU trying to establish the run. Arizona did show some resolve stopping the run against Cincinnati, which meant something to me, but they did concede a 50-yard bomb, and that hurt the statistics, but I was more impressed in that one. Arizona still wasn't as able to really stop the run, but on their own side, they were able to establish their own run, and that led to 3 of their backs combining for 194 yards. So here are my keys. Make Sims throw to beat you. And if he does, kudos to him. But it's basically, you got to commit extra bodies to the box and make him beat you, not the running game. Make him beat you with his arm, I should say. Without O-linemen, this is the second key, namely Bounds and potentially Brown, the tackles, there has to be short passing concepts that help keep Fifita upright and keep the sticks moving. Because when he's not under duress, the ball is kept safe and moved down the field beautifully. And the last offensive key is, can Arizona stay balanced and establish the run? Because the Sun Devils are really good against the run, allowing just 119 yards a game on the ground, the second best in the Big 12. But if not, if Arizona cannot establish that, they'll be able to pin their ears back and attack Fifita. They have 31 sacks. This is injured O-line and a hungry defense. That doesn't bode well, and it concerns me. As for the defense, the effort's going to be to stop the run early and often, and how to keep Jalen Tyson, who I think is one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in the Big 12, away from having big, impactful chunk plays. And my big key, which of course everyone knows, but is worth restating, if you can force third and obvious, meaning throwing downs, that you're third and long, if you can force long throwing downs with a guy like Sims at quarterback who's turnover prone, there's a lot of optimism for me about Arizona's chances to win this game if you can make him throw on third down. The tangible goal would be holding ASU to their pretty poor average of 33.7% third down conversion rate. If Arizona does that, I like their chances. Coming up next, I'll outline the game script that I think will occur based on all these keys and what is most likely to happen, and I'll give you a score prediction as well. All that and more ahead on Locked On Wildcats. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets and everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Welcome back to Locked On Wildcats. Leif Thulin with you here. Thank you guys for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On Wildcats or Locked On Network the number one sports podcast network. I appreciate you guys for making Locked On Wildcats that first listen and hopefully making it the number one podcast. Slip of the tongue there, but certainly hopeful for that. Let's get back to the brass tacks here. I think it's likely that ASU runs the ball 40-plus times in this game, whether it's with Sims, whether it's with Leif Brown, whomever it may be. The goal for ASU is likely going to be pound the rock and retain possession. Arizona's goal in that sense, because they know that, is going to be do not give up big plays and make them earn all their points by being one-dimensional and say, you got to be great, and we'll try to bend, not break if they're going to run through you. But don't give up big plays on play action, and certainly don't let Leif Brown get loose. My guess is Arizona State's going to win the time of possession, which was an eye test guess initially, thinking about it. But then I researched, and ASU leads the Big 12 in time of possession. So I think, statistically speaking, that is a likelihood. That makes Arizona getting stops on third down, on the few third and longs that they create, or I should even say third and decent distance. Making Sims throw is absolutely vital because, one, you can force turnovers, and two, that's the recipe. That's the recipe. Make him beat you with his arm, not his legs. And I expect Arizona to force a turnover in this game. I expect third down pressure to be heavy on Sims, and that'll be crucial to see about the execution and can you get Sims to make that error that he's known to make. As for Arizona's offense, I expect a lot of pressure put on Fifita by ASU, and I expect Fifita to throw the ball a lot for north of 275 yards. I wouldn't be surprised if we see 350 from Fifita. And as well as ASU stops the run, Fifita will then have to shoulder a heavier load. So I kind of expect Arizona to try to run the ball early But what's interesting, and I alluded to this in the previous segment, is Arizona is the stronger passing team on the shoulder of Fifita. That's also better at shutting down the opposing team's pass game. And ASU is a better rushing team and also has a better run defense. Neither team is great at mitigating the strength of the other side. So Fifita has to be better than ASU's run game plus play action. That is basically the equation that I see making this happen. Of course, turnovers play a factor. And, what if you make a big defensive play, turn a turnover for a touchdown? But to me, that's as simple as it gets. So I'll reiterate. I don't think either team is very good at mitigating the other's strengths. So basically, your strength has to be better than the other team's strength. And so it is Noah Fifita. Can he be better than Arizona State's run game plus the play action attack given by a number of long runs that they can create with their potent run game? To me, that advantage is advantage ASU, because if Sims does not turn it over, and I'm saying if he does not turn it over, and Arizona has been great in second halves of late defensively. So I want to put this in context. Arizona's been great in second halves, but if Sims doesn't turn it over, ASU will move the ball. They will certainly move the ball. Arizona, though, in second halves has only allowed 13 second half points over the last 3 games. And to me that's great. But should Arizona build a lead, meaning Sims must throw, that means the game script is heavily in Arizona's favor. If that doesn't happen, and Arizona, I think the game script dictates they'll be playing from behind or trying to match scoring, because if Sims doesn't turn over, I think Arizona State's going to move the ball. And due to the offensive line issues for Arizona, I think Fifita will have a tough task to be as consistently able to orchestrate long drives. I think they might be able to have big plays, or maybe they'll have a couple sustained drives. But they need to find a way to have quick action passes and get the ball out of his hands, because this defense for ASU is hungry. They have 31 sacks on their season already, and sends blood in the water with 2 offensive linemen that are crucial missing. Recently, there's been a great rhythm with Chris Hudson, who has 255 yards receiving over the last 2 games. I expect him to play a massive role in this matchup. So I'm leading into my prediction. I expect a decently high-scoring game where both offenses do their thing well, which I think makes getting off the field on third and manageables on defense so critical for both teams. And I think Arizona should win that matchup if they can create enough third and longs against a bad third down offense in ASU. Arizona's the better third down offense, and third down defense will be very important for each. If it's high scoring, that means that Fifita will have tons of dropbacks with O-linemen out, and that concerns me greatly. Fifita's not turnover prone, but high rates of pressure makes it hard to play super cleanly throughout a sustained period of high rates of pressure. The game script, I think, if I'm being honest, favors Arizona State, but they're injured even more so than Arizona, and the odds picking Arizona intrigues me, saying, what do I not know? And it's rare to have a team that's ranked higher playing at home as the underdog, especially with even records. It's not like one of these teams had a great start to the season, has cooled off, and you're just picking a team that's flailing. Arizona, though, is the hotter team with more momentum and more belief at the moment. And that does matter. You have to have a team that believes in one another. And that has been my big takeaway for why Arizona deserves the praise they've gotten, why Brent Brennan deserves so much. After drawing a lot of criticism, he deserves all that and more in praise for the way he's rejuvenated the group and kept them together, demonstrating resolve, both coming back from behind against Kansas, but also just coming from the deficit that is starting 1-3 in conference play. My gut tells me if Sims does not have numerous turnovers, Arizona State should win this game, in the sense that they are the home team. They have a talented group. They have aspirations to play for, but Arizona's hotter. So give me 30-27 Arizona over the Sun Devils, and the Territorial Cup comes to Tucson. Close game, 30-27 Arizona to win the game. And please let me know your thoughts. Tell me if you see something that's obvious that will dictate how this game goes, and send your predictions as well. And also, we will happily be covering Arizona basketball as they move in after Feast Week. Coming up next week, they start to move on, and they'll play Alabama and Auburn coming up. Both teams picked up huge wins in Las Vegas, and let's see how hot the Wildcats basketball team can come And of course, there'll be postcasts for those as well. Thank you guys for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Big 12. Drake Toll breaks down the most exciting conference in college sports, from rivalries, championships, and every game in between. Find Locked On Big 12 on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.